Now, like you said, it's a lot of other things besides just the physical pain that you have to deal with and go through, right?
Yeah.
It's a frustration, the mental side of everything. Was there anything that really helped you kind of just keep plugging along?
I am someone who really rely on others. And so I had really good friends on the team who they kind of understood how I felt. And so kind of leaning on them and talking to them and, their support really helped a lot. It was kind of a dark time too. So I felt that I could have done even better about dealing with all those frustration, those demons I was experiencing. But yeah, because for me too, it was kind of a really big frustration that I knew I needed to help the team more than I could, because they really relied on me. And so kind of feeling like I couldn't help them as much as I could was a really big, it was just a really big mental toll on me. Yeah.
No, I mean, athletes that go through any type of injury, this is common that, the mental side of it and just, for you, I guess, it was the really first big injury that was preventing you from playing volleyball, contributing to the team. So all of these experiences, that's very common, I think, for athletes to go through. Now, from the I want to hear your perspective, because when you are dealing with pain or some type of injury or anything that's kind of impeding your performance, you have to spend a lot more time and be smart with how you're training too. So talk about that too. You're still a student athlete, but the time commitment of spending in the athletic training room, right? Trying to keep yourself strong, trying to take care of all of the things outside of just practice now, just to prepare you for practice. What was that like for you that sophomore year?
It felt pretty overwhelming, not gonna lie. Balancing school and rehab too. I would spend hours of rehab, hours rehabbing a day, and then going to practice and then going to weight training. So it was a lot to juggle. And I don't think I really dealt with it too well. I feel like I could have, and I think in a way, I think if I were to give advice to people who are experiencing injury, I would say to kind of be more vocal about what you're experiencing and kind of help your coaches, your teammates kind of understand how, like what you're feeling and what you're going through, because then you won't feel so alone, because I kind of felt alone at times.
Got it.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about as like it eventually got worse to the point where you just felt like you couldn't perform, right? And it affected, not only volleyball, but affected probably just daily living stuff, right? What was that like for you outside of volleyball with your shoulder?
Oh yeah, so when it got towards the worst part of that injury, when I was experiencing the most pain, daily stuff was really difficult. Something as simple as brushing my teeth, I'd be like, oh gosh, that's really painful. Or driving my car. So just those simple everyday tasks were really painful, and that was kind of frustrating too.
Yes. So what happened? How did that conversation come up? What was the next steps to not only play volleyball, but just to take care of your shoulder? What was that a difficult decision for you to make, or timing wise, or what was some of the details with that? Whatever you're willing to share.
Oh yeah. In retrospect, it doesn't sound healthy, but when I would discuss that with my athletic trainer, Renee, we would kind of just say, okay, we just got to get through the season. We got to get through the season, just get through the pain now, and then we'll have surgery by the end. And that's not the best mentality, because you gotta deal with it in the moment until before it gets way worse. But I guess because it was a really tough position too, because if I were to stop playing, or if I were to already have surgery, then our team would have me out, and that was obvious. That wasn't ideal. Yeah. So we kind of just had to have that discussion and lay out the pros and cons, and ultimately kind of deciding that we just had to push through the season.
Got it. From your teammates' standpoint, and I'm glad that they were very supportive, and even from the coach's standpoint, although you felt like you weren't playing nearly to your capabilities and potential, how was it? It was still enough where the coaches were seeing a lot of value in having you on the court, I'm assuming. And what was that perspective like from the outside, I guess, outside of you? How were they seeing your performance was?
I was typically a player, and this is what David Shoji would tell me a lot. He would say that I was a player that was really steady. And so he would say, you don't notice me on the court until you look at the stats afterwards, and then you see, oh, she actually did good. Which is kind of like a backhanded compliment. But so I was just a very steady player and kind of pretty composed. Once I got the hang of it, of course, freshman year at the beginning, not so much. But so I thought that even if I was playing between 60 and 70%, I was still an asset on the court, because I kind of just maintained that composure and was kind of always a steady player that never really made a whole lot of mistakes. Of course, I wasn't like a standout or anything, but just kind of like a rock for everybody on the team. And so they thought that even if I was performing at 60, 70%, I was still needed on the court.
Got it. And let's talk about when it started to get, that second half of the season of your sophomore year, right? You're experiencing more pain. Obviously, you're able to, and you did it, right? You were able to push through, still contribute to the team and all of that. But what was the experience like after games, after practices? What condition was your shoulder in after you go through volleyball?
Oh my gosh, I called it my super shoulder. I would always be wrapped with 3 or 4 ice bags all around my shoulder, and I would be walking around with this giant bulge. And there was all kinds of recovery that we went through. There would be game ready that we would use, stem, all kinds of stretches. Sometimes if it just got so bad, if we had time, we would do like a cortisone shot at some point during the season. So we would just do everything we could to prolong how long I could play.
Got it. So when was it that you actually made the decision, okay, let's go ahead and schedule surgery and get this repaired?
We made that towards the end of my sophomore year. After my athletic trainer saw how much pain I was in. And again, I wouldn't talk to my coaches or my athletic trainer a whole lot about how I was feeling, but when it got to a point where it felt like that, I had to become a little bit more vocal about it. But kind of discussing that with her, we made that decision that we had to have surgery at the end of the season. But to actually get there, we had to go through playoffs first. Got it. And that was actually the year that we went the furthest in my career. We played up until the Elite 8. So the NCAA tournament starts off with 64 teams, and we made it to the Elite 8, which was awesome. But I remember the game leading up to our Penn State match, which was in the Sweet 16. I had to get a cortisone shot right before that game just to make it through. So because it felt like my arm was going to fall off. So after kind of going through all of that, we kind of knew that surgery would have to happen as soon as season was over.
Yes. So you had it right at the conclusion of your season. You had the surgery as soon as possible?
I had winter break first, and then I came back.
And came back and had the surgery.